happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. Never gonna lose, never gonna win. Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. Yes, it's Martin Bissett on 50 Minutes Behind the Profile. Martin, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you too, Ashley. How are you?
I am absolutely buzzing, and when I get a guest like you in the show, it makes me even happier. So yeah, thanks ever so much for coming along today.
Thank you for the invite.
No, so tell those people that don't know who you are, what you do, please, Martin.
Who is the old fat bloke in the suit? Yeah, so a 26-year veteran, actually, of the accounting world without ever having been an accountant. And why spend 26 years in accountancy when you don't have the right letters after your name? Well, it's a long story, but the short version is that I am someone who wants to help and has spent those years trying to help accountants go beyond compliance work to get involved in their business owners' lives, because that, when done correctly, has tremendous personal impact on those business owners that cannot be achieved by the bank, by the IFA, by the lawyer, or even by the management consultants. It's only accountants that can do it. So if I wanted to have impact in my career that was tangible, measurable, serious, it was going to have to be through accountants. And so that's the way I went.
Perfect. 26 years in this space. You don't look old enough, sir.
I look too old. That's the problem these days.
Must be the lighting. So you're not an accountant?
Nope, never have been. Never will be.
What drew you to this space?
Generally, it was that motivation. So back a long time ago, my father was a very successful businessman, but a businessman who, like a lot of us, and I would include myself from years ago, not necessarily financially literate.
Mm-hmm.
So great at doing the thing that he did, not great at running a business that does the thing.
Yep.
And a lot of us can relate to that. And so he grew beyond his ability to really cope, I'll call it. And things went terribly wrong. And anybody who knows me well knows this story very well anyway, so I won't go into the depth of it. But ultimately, he lost his business and many other things as well as a result of the lack of assistance that was around at that time. No one's fault, by the way, but the lack of assistance that was around at that time to help own and manage businesses. And I have almost fallen down the same hole myself. My accountant bailed me out.
Wow.
And then when you work out, well, what are you going to do with a career that actually means anything other than collecting a pension and a carriage clock and thank you for your service, goodbye, into retirement? What are you going to do that actually leaves anything behind? This seemed to me like a good idea. If I could get accountants to be the ones to go and help businesses, I would have a legacy, or rather the work would have a legacy that would last long beyond me.
And that's the thing is I totally related to it, because I'm really good at teaching people how to do LinkedIn, but like you say, I haven't a clue with running a business. That's why I've got an accountant to help me.
Right.
And the thing is, our accountants are in an amazing position to be able to help these small businesses, because not only do they know all the numbers, they know what the numbers should do and how we should do it. So how are you helping accountants to do that? Because many accountants that we speak to just do the compliance and get stuck on that hamster wheel, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Well, in the old days, it was one-to-one. So I was the archetypal internet marketing cliche. He's a speaker. He's a consultant. He's an author. That sort of thing, which everyone does. But I think I had, going by the feedback, I had a style or an approach that was a wee bit Marmite. Anybody overseas probably won't recognize that reference, but you were either really fond of what I had to say or you were really not fond of what I had to say whatsoever. And I just felt that I couldn't reach enough people. I'd gone around the world several times from a speaking perspective and a consulting perspective as well. And I just didn't feel like I was making a dent. And so 6 months before COVID happened, I decided to explore the world of online communities, which was fairly new at that time, as a greater reach tool, and go from one to many model, really. And communities has become really the bread and butter of the business since that time. I think Bissett Group has 8 communities that it runs at this time. And, you know, covering different areas, covering pricing, covering general practice, covering fintech sector as well. And all of that actually is to do the same thing, is to try and get this military style push uphill to get the accountant to come out of the safe zone, out of the zone, out of the compliance zone, and say, hey, Diane, we can actually help you with that.
Yeah.
Or, Andy, how you doing? You struggling? Yeah, let's have a chat about that. Because left to their own devices, that's not what happens. The client has to make the phone call. And if the client doesn't know to make the phone call, it doesn't happen at all. And the client generally sinks in that scenario.
There's some real stats. We'll come to this in a second. I'm just going to say hello to Pavel and Michal. If you guys have got any questions for Martin, then please put a Q in front of your question, and we'll fire that at Martin. And what are the stats for businesses failing in the UK? It's pretty shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on which report you look at. From 1 in 5 failing in the first 5 years till 3 in 5, and there was some report that says 6 in 5 failing in the first 5 years. You know, I don't think that one's something that I look at too much. I think what I'm concerned about is why.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, people will say cash. It was underfunded. Yep. Okay, it ran out of cash. It had no cash. It was underfunded in the first place. I might challenge that. I might go with self-esteem instead. Because just as the accounting profession can relate, self-esteem prevents us from actually getting out there and creating new value. It stops us from getting the price that we actually could get and deserve to get. It stops us achieving the level of profitability that we could get and deserve to get. And if it's true of accountants, I bet you it's true of SMEs as well. And so I would imagine that someone sat there going, okay, well, I am superb at IT, diagnosis and troubleshooting. Yeah, I can go into any business and work out their issues and do something about it. But can they sell that? Can they actually promote that? Can they create marketing content that demonstrates that to a wide audience so that they never have to worry about sales? I'm not so sure. If you're a video maker, what if you're the greatest video maker on earth? But you never tell anybody. And the people who use you, who found out about you by referral, they don't want to tell anybody else because they want it to be their secret. You know, they don't want to know how they're doing it, how they're producing these incredible videos. So Video Maker never does go out there and actually tells the world how wonderful their videos actually are. So I do wonder whether it really is a cash flow problem. I think that's more of a indicator or symptom of a wider issue, which is, I don't know what I'm doing in the first place. Accountants have the answer to the I don't know what I'm doing question.
Do you think this is just a British thing because we are pretty rubbish at blowing our own trumpets and saying how good we are?
I am pleased to say that rubbishness is worldwide.
All right, okay.
So yes, here in Britain we do have the Great British Reserve. I couldn't possibly say how good I was, just in case anybody thinks, you know, that I am getting above my station. Wonderful song by Morrissey in 1992. We hate it when our friends become successful. And no, the conservative nature of the technical professional, i.e. the accountant, is worldwide. I've had the honor of addressing 44 different countries in my career so far, and being on 5 of the Earth's, I think, 7 continents. And it is everywhere you go. Even in Australia, where we see an awful lot of the noise coming from about proactivity and added value, you know, we hear a lot of noise coming from there. But even there, the firms there, in the provinces, in the towns, you know, in the sort of the normal sort of streets and high streets and so on, same issue.
Okay, so if you're really, if you're, I'm trying to phrase this, most small business owners that I work with, I speak to, don't like to say boo to a goose, don't like to say that we're really good at something. What would you say to these people? What should they be saying to get them outside of that comfort zone of self-deprecation?
Well, here's where we get controversial in our conversation.
Oh, I love this. Carry on.
Yeah, because I would then make the argument that most of them have no desire to. So there's nothing for them to say because the assumption that people actually want to help from an accountant's point of view is wrong. They don't want to help. Not all, some, before you write in, viewers. Not all. And from a business owner perspective, there is pride. There is that pride of, I don't really want to ask for help. I'm going to look stupid if I don't know how to use a simple piece of software that records my profit and loss. And so they don't reach out. So we have an impasse. Okay. So I used to say, actually, in the old days, in the public speaking days, I used to say that 18% of the audience, no matter whether I was in a room of 20 or a room of 4,000, 18% were my audience in reality, but I didn't know which ones they were.
Yeah.
They would identify themselves to me via questions during the session, which showed what they were made of, via the queue, that small queue that, 10 people that wait for you after you finished your keynote while everybody goes out and gets food, or in the LinkedIn connections that followed thereafter. That's how they identified themselves, the 18%. So when you're speaking to a crowd, you don't know who they are. But the reason why it's only 18% is because 82% aren't interested. They're there for the CPD, right, or they're waiting for the next talk, or, important email, I must deal with it because the world will collapse if I don't. I must go out of the room at this point. The worst I ever saw, 2015 in Paris, speaker before me was on. Wasn't incredible, but was all right, perfectly passable. And a guy in the front row, very Parisian this, got a copy of Le Monde newspaper and just went,
no.
While the speaker is right there.
Wow.
And I asked for the person to be removed, saying that's not cricket, I'm afraid. So that, unfortunately, as controversial as this is, that's a large part of the market. I had a dinner with a managing partner many years ago when I first started out. And I came up with all these ideas, actually. I was going, we could do this with the practice. Oh my goodness, we could do that. And he's just lukewarm to all of them. And I said, what's going on? I'm throwing gold at you here. And he says, Martin, you need to understand that most of us accountants are lazy, greedy studs. And we just want you to give us your money and go away. And I was like, what an admission that is. Okay? Because it doesn't sound great for me in my marketing if I say 82% of you are lazy, greedy. That's not great marketing. But do I find it to be the case? No, I find 82% to just not end up doing anything for some reason. Always tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can't do it now. Partners don't agree. Don't have the self-esteem to actually go out and help people. Not really sure how to deliver my solutions. Not sure how to price my solutions. And I'm lazy and greedy. All of those things are in the mix. So you have to find that 18%. And that's hard work. That takes a lot of touring to go and find.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got your 18%.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They're keen to do something.
Yeah.
Do you not bother with the 82%, or do you change your message? What do you do there?
Again, fascinating. Over the years, no, I didn't bother. I left them to it. My experience is you can't help anybody who doesn't want to help themselves.
You can lead a horse to water.
Yeah, right. Now the practice, those 82%, I bet they're profitable firms. I bet they're doing just fine. I bet they've got plenty of money and they're quite happy doing what it is they do. And they have no desire to go above and beyond the call of duty. There's no judgment there. It's simply, okay, so my message isn't for you guys.
Yep.
See you later. The 18%, and we're talking rough numbers here, but the 18%, they still have many barriers, generally around self-esteem. If I had to pick the number one, I'd pick self-esteem by far. And they will always express a self-esteem problem in the following sentence. I don't have the time. It's like you do. You've got as much time as everybody else has got. It's a question of priority, and you're not making it a priority because you're scared. And it's okay to be scared too. We can fix that. But to then get 100%, then to 18%, then find the 5% of that 18% that actually go, I'm ready, I want to, I'm prepared to, I'll learn, I'll face rejection, it's all right. That is a rare bird. But oh my goodness, the legacy they leave behind. is extraordinary.
Yeah, because they're doing the right thing. They're getting job satisfaction. They're able to charge a decent fee. They're able to build a business that can carry on.
They are business owners without whom's. You know when in an award ceremony and somebody picks up an award and they say, "I'd like to thank so and so for this award," without whom it wouldn't have been possible. I'm not advertising. No, I'm not advertising. That's good. Just realised that when I picked it up. But they say that without whom. I'd like to thank, without whom this wouldn't have been possible. These types of accountants that we're talking about, the 5% of the 18% of the 100%, they are the without whom's in business owners' lives. And the business owners will say to whomever, wherever, without my accountant, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't even be in business, never mind successful, never mind picking up this business award, never mind opening this new office, never mind buying this new piece of plant machinery or whatever. It's all because of my accountant got involved. And I actually cared. And that, for me, that is the high watermark. That is the ultimate realization of your professional qualifications. When you get your ACA or your AAT or whatever it is you have, what's the ultimate of that? Is it you being in practice? Maybe. Is it you having 100 employees? Maybe. Is it you being part of a national network? Maybe. But what it really is for me is you've got stories like that coming out of your ears. You can tell me about Tony at the brewery. You can tell me about Cheryl at the construction company. You can tell me about all these people who were struggling until you came in and got involved. And then you turned it around and they're off now towards their professional or personal aspirations, whatever it is they're pursuing, all thanks to you, that proactive accountant.
Yeah. And like you say, proactive accountant. And when you meet them, but what you're saying is 82% are quite happy with the status quo.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to get killed on these numbers. This says 82%, and we can disprove this. Yeah. This is my personal experience from a 10-year speaking career,
sure.
On average.
Yeah. And that is if you don't like Marmite.
That's if you don't like Marmite.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You know what? That's a good point. Actually. Let's go there. That's a great point. It is also, to skew the numbers, it's also very, very valid to say that you could have two speakers get up and give the exact same message. They don't listen to a thing I say, but the other person hits home no problem at all.
Yeah.
Because the way I said it, they didn't like. The way the other person said it, they did like. So if we put that speaker's numbers with my numbers, all of a sudden we might have a bigger portion of the room now. All of a sudden. But nevertheless, it's still the minority rather than the majority. And again, there isn't a judgment there. It's simply a statement of fact.
Let's talk about this Marmite thing, because this is brilliant. Because a lot of accountants don't want to be Marmite; they want to be all things to everybody. And I think what we need to do is embrace our inner Marmite, isn't it?
It really depends if you ever want to make any money or not. For me, I can't help it. I'm the ultimate one-trick pony. I can only do very direct speaking, and over the years, I started off being the rebel who just didn't care. When it was actually a rebel without a clue. And lacked tact, lacked diplomacy, lacked experience. And so I thought I was being so, so disruptive with my cutting through the crap, getting to the point things. All I was doing was winding people up. Not really helping anybody at all. Over the years, what I've tried to do, and only the audience can tell you as to whether I've been successful or not, is to deliver it in a very, very soft tone that shows them that I care. And not deliver it as a accusation, but as a observation. What we're going to do, guys? Guys, am I wrong here? Do you ever do the things I'm saying you don't do? Prove me wrong. Nobody can. Well, there we are. And that tone appeared to cure the Marmite problem a wee bit more, because I would still say direct things, but in a, let's go with loving way, certainly a caring way. And the audience go, don't like what he's saying, but I do like the way he's saying it. And it was interesting, whenever I would get asked back, and there were some places where they asked me back an awful lot, so I thought, are there no other speakers? But the picking's this slim that I'm back for the 9th year, what's going on? I would say, why am I back? And they couldn't tell me. Because they would say, first of all, nobody knew what my name was. Okay, so get that Malcolm Bishop back. He was good. That Malcolm Bishop, we liked him. And like, you mean Martin Bissett? Whatever. Yeah. So didn't know my name. Couldn't tell me much about my content. Couldn't tell me whether my slides worked or my audio worked on my slides or not. Couldn't really tell me much about any of those, and certainly hadn't implemented anything that I'd asked them to do. But when you said, so why am I back? The phrase is always the same. We like how we feel when you're here.
Yep.
Which you can bring down to one word, energy.
Yep.
So it would appear, and I'm certainly not alone in this, there are many other speakers that qualify for this one as well in professional services, that for some reason, the energy, which I take to mean the fact that it was clear that I cared about them, very much so, that was coming across now. And they were prepared to tolerate my directness, which might make them feel uncomfortable because I did it in a caring way. And it's like, we actually like this. We like having a little bit of a kick up the backside because it's not being done nastily. It's not being done judgmentally. And therefore, we'll handle your controversy because you care. We'll take that. And that seemed to be the trade-off in the latter years of speaking.
No, like that. And that's the thing is, people don't remember what you did, but they do remember how you made them feel. And you're doing that. Okay, so we've got younger practices starting up, taking advantage of all the tech, AI, maybe offshoring and stuff like that, and they can do things leaner, quicker, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
these are going to be the 18%. Surely the 82% should be thinking, hang on a minute, why aren't we doing any of that?
It's interesting, but money is a great anesthetic. If you're making money, who cares? They're not really that bothered as to whether they're being super proactive or super reactive. The money's coming in. Why make the extra effort?
But didn't Blockbuster make a lot of money?
Yeah, they did. I think the shareholders who got out in time are very happy with what happened.
Yeah,
because they're probably shareholders of Netflix now. But what I think is, I would dress like the audience. You see how I'm dressed today? I would dress like the audience dressed. The audience dressed like you these days, actually, not me.
They do.
They're dressed like you. And COVID was kind of like the defining point there. When we came back to Accountex style events, other events are available. When we came back to that after COVID, all of a sudden, hoodies, beards, laptop stickers, started to make up the audience. And it was the first time when I didn't recognize the audience anymore. Usually I'd go out, look at a room and go, I know a good 20 to 30 of you straight away. And I can play to you now because I know that you know me. It was a new audience. It was a far more diverse audience. It was a far more, I would say, representative audience. And that's exciting because that's new opportunities. And we can shuffle old farts like me off the stage and get new voices in as well to speak to them. But do we automatically assume that they are suddenly free from the problems of running a practice and have no hiring issues and have no pricing issues and have no self-esteem issues? No, same issues. Same issues again, just in a different set of clothes this time. Because young people setting up practices are still inexperienced. They still question themselves. They still don't have 10, 20 grand clients that they can price anchor and go, this is what I do for them and that's how much it costs. So getting past those typical break points in accounting, 1,500 quid, 2,500 quid, and so on, still difficult. So to automatically assume that they're the 18%, I wouldn't automatically assume that. I would assume that we're still looking for the characters, the individuals, the ones who have made a decision in their heart. I'm going out to help people, rather than I'm building an accounting practice. They just come in all different shapes and sizes now.
I think that's the thing you just said it. Accounting practice. The 18% are running a business.
Oh, right.
They're running a business that just happens to do accounts.
And we're wandering through the world of the Baker model now at this point, professional services firm versus professional knowledge firm. My good friend Will Farnell would tell you that there are accounting practices and there are accounting businesses. And he would define the difference for you as per the Baker model, the Ron Baker model from Firm of the Future book in 2003. So are they running businesses that just happen to provide accounting? Yeah, I'll go with that. but they are still trained as an accountant. They haven't come from sales.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't come from marketing. They haven't come from global corporate branding to run an accounting practice. They are qualified by some governing body somewhere, and therefore still have those parameters, those mental parameters and operational parameters that are taught in the accounting curriculum.
No, perfect. I got a question here to you from Pavel. Just say hello to Linda. Pavel is saying, would you recommend to dress down to match the audience despite personal preference for business casual? I love that.
Pavel, I would recommend you do you.
Yeah.
And don't worry about the audience, because if you want to relate to them, what you're wearing will not make much of a difference. They'll relate to the tone of your voice, your body language, your knowledge, your experience, your stories. And whether you do that in a suit, whether you do that in a t-shirt and jeans, whether you do that in a chicken costume, doesn't really matter too much. You'll probably get remembered for the chicken costume, to be fair. But it's not going to make an enormous difference. It's you that's going to make the enormous difference. So this is actually a 90s thing, it might even be older than that, called profile matching, where if you had an appointment with a new client who was a 55-year-old male boat enthusiast, you'd send your 55-year-old male boat enthusiast to go and meet with them so that there was common ground there. The problem with that idea is that your 55 male boat enthusiast might have all the charisma of a corpse.
Yeah.
And therefore be no use to you in a new business scenario whatsoever. But had you sent the managing partner out, would have been great. So I'm not a fan of these sorts of ideas. Just be you, and you will attract your tribe no matter what.
I was invited to a networking event by a firm of solicitors, and I'm like, oh, should I? No. They've invited me. They've invited me. I am going to wear my yellow T-shirt, my Converse, and my jeans. And Martin, you turn up in a jacket. You look smart. You've got your handkerchief. Is that on brand today, Martin?
We try to at least concede a little bit to the brand.
I love it. So those of you who are listening on the podcast, Martin is sat here in a lovely jacket, and sticking out of his pocket is a yellow kerchief. So that is awesome. I know, really good. So you just said that they're running a business, but they're not marketers. They haven't come from sales. Is that where the magic starts happening?
Ooh, define magic. What magic are we looking for here?
Being a successful business with streams of customers, knocking at the door.
Interesting one. Success is a one-player game, obviously, so it depends how that individual defines success. They might think that being a £60,000 practice and working 3 days a week is the ultimate definition of success. And if they do, then that's exactly what they should go for. I have had the opportunity in the bookkeepers community to meet with an awful lot of working mums who stress about balancing what they had their professional commitments with their home commitments. And that's an ongoing challenge for them, but they worry about it as if it mattered. Yeah. By which I mean, do the thing you love, and if that's home, do that. And so long as you can meet the mortgage payment, it's going to be okay. Don't worry. But they worry about trying to be all things to all people, and it's very few that actually ever get to that. It's a strange ideal to hold yourself to. But in terms of the magic happens, in my view, actually, in professional services. So we could be talking about accounting or bookkeeping here. When you tell your stories to your potential audience, by which I mean, if you were the person who dug the business owner out of the bankruptcy scenario, if you were the person who tidied up 3 years worth of historic accounts and let them sleep at night, the business owner sleep at night as a result, if you were the person who made sure that the VAT investigation went well, if you were the person that helped them secure extra funding, if you're one of those people, those stories need to be out of your head and into the public domain, because everybody's got them. And like I said, speaking is not a huge part of what I do anymore, but when it was, I would ask the audience who can tell me about the greatest thing they ever achieved for their clients. And of course, nobody wants to go first. Everybody's like, not me, no. To create the impression that nobody's done anything in that room. Well, I knew better. So as soon as you start picking on someone, they find the story. And it'll be an amazing story as well, by the way. They'll have saved somebody, I don't know, 1.8 million in corporation tax, and that, those funds were reinvested in the business or something. You know, they'll tell you about that. But they wouldn't have said a word had I not have picked on them. So they only shared that story under duress from the gobby speaker who wants them to, you know. And it's like, such reticence is self-defeating. You know, if practices would just say, yeah, we helped that, and you don't even have to name who they are. We helped the business in that area that does that sort of thing. We help them with this. We help them with that, because it's what we do. I would love to see that happen, because business owners would become far more educated as to what an accountant can really do, and don't dispute the bill every 10 seconds. You know, accountants would feel less inclined to have to climb down on bills and do write-offs and write-downs because they haven't got the self-confidence to actually stand up for themselves in a fee negotiation scenario. Those things would change. Those dynamics would change. And I know full well that our audience listening now or later is going to have those stories. And if we allowed them to, they'd tell us. And we'd be wowed by them. It's happened in every country I've spoken in. It's happened in every audience, no matter what size of firm we're discussing. Everyone has helped someone in an incredible way, and they don't bother ever telling you about it. It can't be found on the website, and it ain't in the marketing material. So it's a long way of saying, yeah, if we get past that bit and we start to tell our stories, that's when the magic happens, yes.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's not even marketing. It's just repeating a story, isn't it?
Just telling stories, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe you call it networking, I don't know, depending on how you tell your story, but it's just having the wherewithal, the ability to look yourself in the mirror and go, I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
That's not a boast. That's not a humble brag. It's a statement of fact. Here's my proof.
Yeah.
I mean, myself, actually, if I may tip my camera a second. There we go. The career's
Whoa.
up there. There we go.
Look at that.
The career is up there on the wall. I shan't take you through it, but basically the highlights from the career are up there.
Yeah.
Whatever they happen to be. And they're there because, one, it looks nice when we film in front of it, but also when I come in the morning, if I ain't having a great morning, or I didn't have a great day yesterday, or I'm not having a great month, that's the reminder that I've actually done stuff.
Yeah, I love that.
That's the reminder to me that I've actually done stuff. So that is the confirmation to me saying, yeah, you're actually half decent at what you do. Carry on. And I would love every accountant and bookkeeper to have a pictorial representation of their career, to go, I actually help a lot of people. I'm actually very good at what I do. I should put my prices up.
What a way to end a show. Martin, you have been absolutely brilliant. I've been looking forward to today. I never in my wildest dreams thought it would be this brilliant, and we'd fly through. We've gone through 30 minutes already. You're gonna have to come back. You're gonna have to come back. So we'll have to negotiate a fee for that. Thank you very much for jumping on my show today. Thank you for all the lovely questions and the comments and stuff. Before we go, I've got one more question for you. But before we do that, I just want to give a shout out to my guests next week. I've got the guys from Profit First coming in and having a chat.
Oh, great.
So yeah, aren't they just amazing? So Tim and Duncan, and we also have a little bit of an announcement as well to make next week. So yeah, they're doing a similar thing to you and helping our accountants and bookkeepers just do more. Martin,
they're a great organization. Great organization.
Yeah. Martin, quick question for you then. So I ask this question with everybody. When you were at school, okay, in primary school, so running around with your shorts on, what did you want to be when you grew up?
What made you think I was wearing shorts? I've got a very boring answer, I'm afraid. Actually, if I'm telling the truth, it was a footballer.
Good.
Then it evolved into a photographer.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And then it evolved into an author. So I got there on the third attempt.
Fantastic. And so you actually were at school thinking you wanted to be an author?
Eventually, yeah. I mean, that was secondary school by the time I got to that point. But yeah, primary school was footballer. And there's a whole story as to why that didn't happen. But then photographer, I was very interested in photography. And I used to do freelance work for the local paper. But I couldn't see a career. I couldn't see it. This is the pre-internet age that we're discussing here. Couldn't see it. Couldn't see how you would monetize it. I seem to have an ability to communicate in words. So I thought, okay, let's try writing. And, you know, the exams went well in English. 17 books later, here we are.
Wow. Brilliant. Martin, absolute star. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. We will be back next week. Cheerio.
get out what you put in.